We move to anti-parallel vector. Anti-parallel vectors. Now their property. Number one, they have the least resultant or minimum resultant. This is an exam-based question too. Just take note that anti-parallel vectors they are opposite to that of parallel vectors. Remember, parallel vectors they have the highest resultant. Yeah, they have the highest resultant. But if you look at here, anti-parallel vectors they have the least or minimum resultant. This is an exam-based question. Then number two, they have angular difference of 180. They have angular difference of 180. Remember, if you can recall, parallel vector they have angular difference of 0. But for anti-parallel, they have angular difference of 180. Then how do you know anti-parallel vector? We know them because they travel in opposite direction. Anti-parallel vectors they travel in opposite direction. Then number 4, their resultant is calculated by simple subtraction. This is just opposite of parallel vector. Remember, in parallel vector, we said that they have the highest resultant or minimum or maximum resultant. We said that they have angular difference of 0. We said that they travel in the same direction. And we said that their resultant is calculated by addition. When you look at this here, anti-parallel vectors, they have the least. They have angular difference of 0. They travel in opposite direction. And their resultant is calculated by subtraction. Now, if you look at number 5, okay, before then, let's just look at this example. This vector A and vector B. How can you tell that these two vectors are antiparallel? We can tell that they are antiparallel vector because they both travel in opposite direction. So since they travel in opposite direction, how can we calculate the total, which is the resultant? How can we calculate for the resultant? We can calculate for the resultant by subtraction, by subtracting them. When we subtract the two, it gives us what the total. Remember, resultant vector means the total vector or net vector. When we combine two or more vectors together, the total vector is known as the resultant. We are combining these two. The total is what? The resultant. Now, the resultant is calculated by what? Subtraction. Now, let me explain why their resultant, why antiparallel vector have the least or minimum resultant. This is because of what? Because of subtraction. Remember, parallel vector have the highest because we usually add the resultant of parallel vectors usually have the highest resultant because we add them. But for anti-parallel, their resultant, which is their total, is small or is least or is minimal. This is because of subtraction. I don't know if you understand. Because we calculate the resultant by subtracting the two vectors. That is, if you look in the end of the day, the resultant we have a magnitude or a value lesser than each of the individual vector. So this is why antiparallel vector have the least resultant because their resultant is calculated by subtraction. Imagine you subtracting 3 away from 5, you have what? 2. This is why, if you look at the resultant is so small. This is why antiparallel vectors, this is why they have the least resultant or minimum resultant, because their resultant is calculated by subtraction, by subtracting the two vectors. Unlike the parallel vector, in which we calculate their resultant by adding the two vectors together. When we add, the number increases, but when we subtract, imagine you adding two numbers together, the total will be larger, and then when you subtract two numbers, the total will be what? Smaller. So this is why antiparallel vectors have the least resultant, because the resultant are calculated by subtraction. Now, there is an issue here in the sense that what will be the direction of the resultant? If you look at the two vectors, one is going to the east, one is going to the west, or one is going to the right, the other is going to the left, the same thing. Now, what will be the direction of the resultant? And why is that this resultant is going in the what? To the east direction, or to the left, or to the right? Now, if you look at number 5, the direction of the resultant is in the direction of the largest vector. Now, between 5 vector A and vector A is larger than vector B. And this is why the resultant vector, remember, if you look at this number 5, they said that the resultant of the direction of the resultant must be in what? In the direction of the largest vector. The largest vector here is 5, and that is 5. And vector 5 or vector A is in where? Is going to the east direction, or to the right direction. This is why the resultant vector is what? Also going to what? To the east direction. Imagine you subtracting 3 away from 5. The 5 remain, it will give you 2, it remaining 2, and the 2 will still go in the same direction for the 5. So this is why you find out that the resultant vector go in the same direction as what? The largest vector. Okay, so let me for example, okay, now let me explain. Okay, remember, as the parallel vectors, they always, how do you know them? They're always going in what? In opposite direction. They're always going in opposite direction. That's how we know a parallel vector, because they go in opposite direction. Unlike parallel, in which they go in what? In the same direction. For parallel vectors, when they go in the same, they go in the same direction, so therefore their resultant will still be in the same. Their resultant will still be in the same direction as them. Unlike anti-parallel vectors that go in opposite direction, their resultant will be in the direction of what? Of the largest vector. Okay, let's say this vector now is small. Let me say, okay, vector 3. Okay, then okay, vector B having a magnitude of 7. Now, if we minus, then 3 minus 7 to give us minus 4. To give us minus 4. Where will be the, okay, to give us what? Minus 4. Now, where will be the direction of the resultant? Will it be towards the east or towards the west? Or let me say, okay, will it be towards the right or towards the left? It will be what? Towards the left. It will be towards what? It will be towards the left, in the direction of the largest vector. In direction of the largest vector. Okay, so now let's do a little, let me give you guys a simple question. Okay, it's just simple, normal. Let's say, okay, let's say this vector, okay, vector A having a magnitude of 5, then vector B having a magnitude of, let's say, 7. What will be the resultant vector, and what will be the direction of the resultant vector? The resultant vector will be what? Minus 2. 5 minus 7 give us minus 2. To give us what? Minus 2. And what will be the direction of the resultant vector? The direction of the resultant vector, we have gotten the magnitude to be minus 2. The resultant vector will be in what? In this direction. Remember, it will be in the direction of the largest vector. So the resultant vector is what? Is in direction of the largest vector, which is towards the left hand side, or towards the west. Remember, this is north, this is south, and this is east, while this is what? West. Okay, so in summary, anti-parallel vectors, they have the least resultant or minimal resultant. I've told you guys so well. This is because we calculate their resultant by subtraction, and this is why they have the least resultant. Also, put this, they have angular difference of 180. They travel in opposite direction. That's how we know them. The resultant is calculated by subtraction. The direction of the resultant is in the direction of the largest vector. Direction of the resultant is in the direction of the largest vector. Is that, e.g., vector A and vector B, the resultant is always in the direction of what? The largest vector.